You were on this show in the summer, or it might have even been a show before that, where you said that the Cybertruck was never going to happen.
I'll stand by that.
Still, no opinion change.
Where the fuck is it? The Ford Mach-E was announced to the same day the Cybertruck was. I currently own a Mach-E. It has 7,000 miles on it. Where's the fucking Cybertruck?
That's been one of my criticisms of Elon Musk. Like
that he's completely full of shit.
Well, that he gets away with being full of shit, right? If Ford said we're coming out with this thing, and then 3-4 years later there was no hint of it even starting, everyone would be mad at Ford. They would expect them to actually do things they're saying they're going to do.
Yeah.
Elon Musk was selling cars 3 years ago, telling people, dude, in a few months, I'm going to have software for this thing that will make it an automated taxi. This car will make money for you. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
That's not close to existing.
Yeah. No, not even close. I mean, the way he gets past
and it was ridiculous on the surface that was even, I mean,
fools were buying it thinking it was real.
Yeah.
Because this
the
guy
ultimate pre-order.
Yeah.
Like getting a car that hasn't been invented yet. And Elon just distracts you
People
with
have
other
given him
promises.
Money for those Founders Edition Roadsters, 50,000, 200. The car doesn't exist.
Anytime he gets heat, he just launches another rocket, and everybody forgets about the boring company.
Or fucking comes up with a guy in a robot suit and says we're going to build humanoid walking robots or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah, that's easier than an electric truck. Skip that one. Go right to that.
He's been selling autopilot for 10 years now. Autopilot isn't in reality isn't too much different than just adaptive cruise control with lane centering.
It's just not at all.
Yeah. Right. So. But he's been selling it as a $5,000 option with this promise that it's going to be more of an autopilot type thing.
Yeah.
Cars have worn out, right? Cars are
people who got that option have returned their leases. You know what I mean? Yeah. They never got anything for it. Yeah. He is the ultimate marketer. I mean, he literally sells things that don't exist. I mean, and people buy them, and then people invest in his company for it, and then his company is the most valuable car company in the world for some reason.
He's the richest man to have ever lived. Steve Jobs had what they called a reality distortion field, right? And he would go up there and he would say, this new phone is magical. This new phone is crazy. It's going to change your life.
Right.
And you'd be like, oh my God, I want it so much. And then afterwards, it's like, oh, okay. When he said my finger was the best pointing device to have ever existed, maybe. I mean, but I bought it during the show, and now afterwards, I'm not sure he's right, but it's fine. Elon Musk is selling shit that hasn't happened,
that literally doesn't exist. Yeah, I mean, Steve Jobs was a great marketer, and he might have been hyperbolic about certain things, as many great marketers are, but he fundamentally didn't take your money for a product that doesn't exist. I mean, you gave him money, you got an iPhone. You know what I mean? It wasn't if you give me money now, I might have a phone for you in 7 years.
Literally 7 years.
And the Cybertruck, if you know a little bit about cars, not a lot, but a little bit,
your bar's too high.
You can look at that prototype, which is a straight up movie prop, and you go, you can't fucking build that. You just common sense just dictates that you can't build something that looks like that and sell it.
Again, the bar is too high. Why is that common sense?
That to me is the hucksterism part of it. But where I really get offended is the release of beta software to untrained people on public roads. The full self-driving beta, which there's tons of videos of it out on YouTube acting wonky as shit. Other companies, Argo AI, Cruise, Waymo, are testing autonomous vehicles, and they're using multiple redundant systems, cameras, radar, LiDAR, backup, and the people who drive those test vehicles are trained. They go through a very, very rigorous certification process, and the single digits of people pass those programs, 4 or 5%. They're engineers. Their literal job is just to monitor these systems. And they're insured by commercial insurance policies. There was one fatality in that Uber the Uber self-driving experiment, and the whole fucking program was canceled. The whole program. And Elaine Hellsberg, the person who died, her family won an enormous judgment from Uber, enormous settlement.
Tell me if I'm wrong. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you?
No, it's okay.
Tell me if I'm wrong when I say this. I kind of like that Elon compares his software to actual people instead of perfection. There's a bit of a nirvana fallacy where you say, hey, this thing has one accident every 100 million miles. It's not ready. Whereas people have one accident every million miles.
Well, there's a couple things to that. One is Elon's data is cherry picked and not entirely accurate. The data he's using to compare his software is to compare it to all cars on the road today. The average car on the road today is 12 years old. There is no such thing as a 12-year-old Tesla Model S. It doesn't exist. That car came out in 2012. So if he only compares his data to cars that have ADAS, adaptive advanced driver safety systems, the data is not nearly as complementary towards them. So it's a selective data. Plus, if you're talking about humans have to be forgiven for their mistakes because they're human, right? They're human. But to sell a piece of software and then say, you human are responsible for the behavior of this software, which that's what they're doing, right? If a Tesla running full self-driving beta runs over a person, it's the human who bought and insured that car who is financially responsible. So what he's doing is reaping the benefits and outsourcing the risks, which is incredibly dangerous. Like I was saying about the other companies doing AV research, they're assuming the risks. Their cars are commercially insured, operated by paid and trained test drivers. Tesla's just selling this shit to fucking regular old people.
Sounds like he's found a real loophole here to get his R&D done cheap as hell.
I mean,
I'm hanging on your every word, but I'm not convinced. Like, you're being heard, but I still love the idea of, like, we're not going to make progress if we don't try it. And
well, maybe, but other people are trying it more ethically, right? You know, you can Argo, Cruise, Waymo, they're trying it, but they're doing it in a safe and incremental way. I believe that you have to break a few eggs to make an omelet is not true when it comes to testing self-driving cars on public roads, because I haven't opted into the beta. I'm there on my motorcycle. I have not opted into that beta. I didn't sign the waiver. So the person using that system signs the waiver and opts into the beta, but they're on a road with everybody else. You know, the other people that are at risk, you know, these Teslas have crashed into 12 parked emergency vehicles responding to accidents that have had their lights flashing. If this software cannot at a basic level not slam into a parked police car or fire truck or ambulance, I would say this is not ready to be sold to the public.
Yeah, for sure.
But,
you know,
again, I just want to know how many times per mile that happens compared to regular drivers.
I don't think that's a fair metric. Because the regular driver is not necessarily optimized, right? We could have better training, we could have better certification, we could have more rigorous safety standards for our cars that could improve what the average driver is. And we don't need new technology for that. We don't need to invent some new thing for that. We could have that now if it was actually a priority.